Welcome back to another Joe Mullally sharing space.
On the 20th of December 1972, Flight 401 took off from New York to Miami with 163 passengers and 13 crew members on board. The pilot was Captain Robert Loft, the first officer was Albert Stockstill, and the flight engineer Donald Repo. All were experienced, highly skilled professionals. During the flight, a landing gear warning light stayed on, suggesting a problem. While the crew were distracted trying to fix it, the autopilot was accidentally switched into a mode which caused the plane to descend slowly. Air traffic control noticed the plane drifting off course, but by the time the crew reacted to the alert, it was too late. At midnight, the plane crashed into the Everglades, killing 101 people, including Loft, Stockstill, and Repo. 75 passengers and crew survived. The National Transportation Safety Board found the crash was caused by the crew's failure to monitor the plane's altitude while focusing on the landing gear light. That small mistake had led to the disaster. After the crash, the airline company salvaged undamaged parts, including seats, ovens, and cockpit equipment. They subsequently reinstalled these parts on other airlines in their fleet. However, by early 1973, crew members started reporting odd events on these planes. Flight attendants felt cold spots in galleys with salvaged ovens. Pilots saw shadows in the cockpit. Then, crew and passengers began reporting sightings of the dead captain Robert Loft and engineer Donald Repo on their planes as well. On one flight, a co-pilot preparing for descent heard insistent rapping from beneath the cockpit floor. Lifting the access panel, he saw Donald Repo's face. The vision evaporated, but a frantic inspection uncovered a loose hydraulic line, a flaw that, if left undetected, could have doomed the plane. And so Repo, it seemed, had appeared as a ghost mechanic to warn the crew. The apparitions multiplied. Loft appeared in jump seats, offering cryptic advice and startling engineers. Then passengers began reporting anomalies also, a child's laughter from an empty lavatory, a sudden dank cold breezes that came from nowhere, accompanied by the faint smell of swamp water. Multiple crew members, all strangers to each other, described seeing identical apparitions on different occasions, always on the same planes fitted with Flight 401 salvage parts. As sightings peaked in 1973, morale plummeted. Attendants requested reassignment away from the afflicted planes, and pilots were consistently logging unexplained equipment malfunctions. At this stage, the airline company itself quietly ordered a discreet internal review to track reported sightings against aircraft maintenance logs. The pattern it uncovered was irrefutable. The hauntings corresponded to planes fitted with the salvage components. The next cluster of incidents caused a rapid rise in absenteeism, with 3 attendants grounded for stress in 1 week and a near miss on a Miami flight approach. The captain swore he heard Loft's voice urging him to pull up, which saved his plane from disaster. I was at this point in 1974. A low-key probe was launched. In a targeted audit, they conducted detailed interviews with all crew members. They carried out full psychological evaluations too, and cross-referenced all the logs from the implicated aircrafts to get a full mechanical history for each plane. They found the same thing. Sightings correlated precisely with salvage parts, and several interventions, including Repo's hydraulic warning, averted verifiable hazards. The subsequent report was classified as internal guidance. Officially, It stated, of course, that there was no evidence of paranormal causation involved. It chose instead to present the whole thing as the understandable psychological after effects of a high-profile accident, and in this regard recommending routine mental health screenings for all crash-adjacent personnel. So that was that. Nothing strange or unusual really, everything's grand entirely. However, buried deep within the appendices far below all the pleasantries and pronouncements, a stark, uncomfortable fact lay bare for all to see. Here on display, their very own statistical analysis figures showed a massive 92% correlation between the reported sightings and the Flight 401 salvage components. Something had to be done. Quite obviously, the removal of these parts was absolutely crucial to stop things escalating further, endangering the lives and safety of all concerned. The problem they now had was, how can we remove the ghost from the machine without admitting there was a ghost in the machine? So a good fudge was needed, a practical, reassuring, scientifically grounded fudge. Finally, in a conclusion that would make any PR spin doctor bow down in admiration before them, they proudly decreed that all the salvage parts from Flight 401 must be removed and destroyed in the interest of preserving, wait for it, the operational morale of the airline company employees. In one master stroke, they managed to ensure the offending salvage parts were removed from those planes and destroyed. And at the same time, they totally undermined the real-life psychic experiences of conscientious professional people, labelling them as delusional sufferers of some mental psychological after effects related to the original crash. It's worth noting here, I think, that those people involved didn't even know which planes had salvage parts installed on them in the first place. Also worth noting that once those parts were removed, miraculously all the mechanical problems and apparitions stopped completely. Many of the specific paranormal experiences described in this story have been hotly disputed in a few documentaries down the years. Whatever about that, I myself can categorically state this much, based on my own professional work in resolving hauntings and psychic disturbances for almost 40 years. One of the most common contributors I come across on a regular basis when dealing with sightings such as this is the influence of second-hand items. Old furniture, jewellery, utensil, machinery, and even second-hand building materials have all produced in their turn a series of unfortunate events. And when such items were the cause, identifying and removing them sorted the problems out. Most of us have second-hand items in our lives which we treasure dearly as mementos. These things are full of beautiful, sentimental, positive memories, happy, uplifting energies, and the very best wishes of those who gave them to us as gifts in the first place, or those who previously owned and treasured them dearly in the past. However, in just the same way, some second-hand items with a traumatic past carry that past energy with them in the same way. The future destiny of these items may entail radiating that energy directly and powerfully into the daily lives of those unfortunate enough to possess them. The key thing with all this, from your own personal point of view, is to trust your instincts and those of your personal friends around you when you feel uncomfortable about a particular item or about a particular place. Don't just dismiss it. Instead, take note of it and inquire into it. Where the issue relates to individual items, you can simply remove them and store them far away from you for a few months. If the situation improves as a result, then that's your proof. If you see no difference, you can always bring them back again and even make a fuss of them for a while to make up for doubting them and banishing them far away from you in the first place. One last point. When reporters tried to track down people willing to confirm the sighting on those planes many years ago, nobody would confirm things for them. They took this as proof positive that those incidents never took place. Well, again, I can categorically state, based on my own professional working experience of nearly 40 years, that this proves absolutely nothing. Let's remember that when people came forward originally, they were dismissed and labelled as deluded. This sent a strong message both to them and everyone else to stay absolutely quiet about such things. Moreover, the airline company itself apparently threatened to dismiss any member of staff who continued to discuss or persistently spread haunting stories. Down the years, I have come across many genuine people who have shared personal psychic experiences with me precisely because I am known to work in this area. Experiences which they have never told another living soul. So if it were me, I wouldn't be sharing things like this with a random entertainment-seeking reporter either. Those guys insist on filming the subject beside some random twisted part of a plane, taken with just the right light so that half of their face is dramatically framed in darkness. With this footage in hand, they interview their expert, who will emphasize strongly how completely misguided any notions of hauntings really are. These are never level playing fields. They are all nothing more than cleverly produced sensational entertainment-driven traps. So, the traditional way of it is to leave all these experts and reporters to themselves and their own scientific beliefs. Until one day in the future, a person close to them dies and appears at the foot of their bed to say goodbye, long before anybody else around them contacts them to let them know of the death. From that moment forward, they too will have first-hand living experience of the reality of these psychic worlds. And when that day does come, my guess is they won't be at all anxious to share such deeply personal lived experiences with any random skeptical reporter either.
Before you go, please like and subscribe.
Thanks so much for watching.